what's up team? My name is Jordan Berry and you're listening to the Kaizen Fitness Show. What's up team? Welcome to another episode of the Kaizen Fitness Show, and today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the hospitality industry and the long-term implications that COVID-19 is going to have on both businesses, the way we consume food, and also on an individual basis as well. So on today's show, I've brought in with me an industry leader, someone that is heavily involved within the hospitality industry in New Zealand, to share their insight on how they've been affected by COVID-19 and also the longer term implications of that as well. So welcome to the show, Punit D'Souza.
Thanks, Jordan.
Awesome, man. Hey, it's really good to have you on, mate, in such uncertain times. Now, you were just recently appointed head chef of Elephant Hill, and they've just announced that they're closing due to COVID-19 and the longer term implications that will have on business. So kind of before we get into that kind of side of things, can you just tell me a little bit about what it was like working at Elephant Hill as the head chef?
Jordan, first of all, I would like to thank you for giving an opportunity for talking to a number of people out there. It's my first podcast, so I might be a little bit nervous. And I would like to thank Samantha as well for this, because I met you through her, and it's just, thank you for both of you during a time like this for listening the story of a small chef from a small city in Wellington, in New Zealand. New Zealand is quite small, so yeah, it's pretty big. So starting with Elephant Hill was pretty good. My first opportunity to work in a winery. I've been involved in the industry for about 10 to 12 years, overseas and New Zealand experience, but most of it comes from working for some of the best restaurants in Wellington. I lived in Wellington for about 9 years, so it was time to move on, and through a hospo recruiting agency in Wellington, I got the opportunity to apply for the job of Elephant Hill, and it took me roughly about 3 months to get the job on and off. So I had to travel from Wellington to Hawke's Bay every now and then. So it must have been about 3 or 4 Skype interviews, and plus a personal interview, then a trial, and then followed with getting the job and moving here. So obviously, Elephant Hill, when I researched, a pretty big company, state-of-the-art building, was quite exciting,
Yeah.
When I got there, I knew the first moment where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, and it was pretty surreal, driving there every day on my motorbike. It's unbelievable, the view. The opportunity to work there was quite exciting because I had quite a lot of plans down the lines to enhance the dining scene a little bit further, and taking people more on a journey with tasting menus and kind of stuff. But unfortunately, everything now is gone, but hopefully I would be still able to do that, for myself or somewhere else. But it was great working at Elephant Hill. The staff were really lovely. But, it's sad for everyone that this has happened. But obviously, we are in such a situation and time where everyone has to look after themselves, so we can't really, it's not the time to play the blame game, just have to crack on and move on and look into different opportunities and time to do things.
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. That's huge. It's such a turbulent time for a lot of people, and you kind of touched on, Elephant Hill was a state-of-the-art, building. They've won quite a few awards recently. They're very popular and well-known. For a business like that to announce that they're no longer going to be opening their doors, for such a popular place and well-known place to say that, does that kind of bode ill for the rest of the hospitality industry?
Look, it is, when the leaders of the industry, I do believe that they have to set examples and they have to lead by examples. So when big companies start closing down or start tanking, I think obviously people who have lesser budget, and smaller businesses, they get a bit of a shock as well that, if bigger companies can't hold on to it, how are we ever going to manage? But then there's always two sides to look at, There are some businesses which are way out of the destination and totally depends on tourism.
Yep.
Whereas some of the businesses that are in the prime locations in the city, they don't need that kind of tourism. They can survive with the businesses or the people that are there around them. It might not give them quite a lot, but it might give them something, But like I said, only time will tell, how this is going to affect, or how is it going to look for everyone, But I would like to tell everyone, just hang in there, I think the small businesses are doing an amazing job. All the chefs that I know, the businesses that I've been reading about, they're doing amazing, incredible job. They're doing their very best. And it gives you a lot of confidence that the industry, they're doing their best to support and let the industry survive, So you have a chance, maybe after a time or a while, to go and play part again into it, or give something more to it.
Yeah, that's key, man. Yeah. I think there's certainly been a trend, not just within the hospitality industry, but within a lot of industries within New Zealand. It's actually the small businesses that have actually been able to flourish in this time because they've been able to pivot. They're potentially not so driven by tourism. So they've been able to still kind of fund their staff, and adapt a lot easier just because of their smaller business structure. So kind of on that note of tourism is obviously a huge part of, the New Zealand economy, and it's also a huge part of the hospitality industry as well. Now, the government have kind of made it pretty clear that we're not going to be opening our borders for a long time. We may be opening them to Australia at some point first, but we're basically not going to be receiving huge numbers of tourists into the country for a while. So do you think that the hospitality industry has the chance to not only survive, but flourish just off local consumerism?
It's a very difficult and tough question to answer, but the answer honestly lies within the industry and within the country itself. Look at situations that have happened past over the years, let's take the world wars, and when all the borders were closed, people have to stand in queues for rationing and stuff. At least we're having a better time than that. Sure. It's not the best time in the world, but still, you always have to look at some positive sides of it, Yep. You just can't focus on everything that's negative. But this is where I believe that it's a very defining time and period for New Zealanders, themselves, and in the history of New Zealand as well, like where they would like to support their industries and how much they can. During times like this, would you like to pay more to your staff and then they can go out and spend more and keep the economy in the country? Or whereas we still have to depend on others, Before we do anything, we have to look at ourselves and we have to think that what we can do best with what we have and how we can support those things, all the small businesses, it doesn't matter whether it's the hospitality industry or any other industries, I would say even small winemakers or smaller distilleries, everyone's business is dependent on hospitality, because even if you export stuff, most of your percentage of goods are still going to hospitality. And if the restaurants are closed, then you can't sell them to the customers. So it's just a stock sitting there. You can't produce, you just, holding up all your stock. It's not going anywhere. So I do believe that the answer lies with the people within New Zealand that are there now and how they can support, You have to understand who you are supporting, what's the story behind the food, do you want to go have a good experience, or what places do you want to go and eat? It's all depends on them. As a person who has always supported local businesses and goods, I do believe that it is about time that people should start supporting local businesses. New Zealanders have always done that. I'm not saying that they haven't, but we might have to take it a little bit further and see how we can help more. Like, do we have to like, we have such wonderful produce in the country, we can work around it in one way or the other. I mean, I'm not a genius at it, but there might be someone who can do things, like, it's an opportunity given to everyone where we have to look at the resources we have and make the best out of it.
Yeah, that's key, man. And I think because just recently we came from level 4 into level 3, and which meant that takeaways were now available to people, which is cool. So it was like the first initial chance for the New Zealand public to get takeaways, to have their food cooked for them. But what was really disappointing was the amount of people lining up for huge international chains like Burger Fuel, Burger King, McDonald's, KFC. A lot of people are thinking, yeah, we can get takeaways, and then they buy from a company that's so worldwide that they're going to struggle a little bit during this time, but it would be good to see a lot more people supporting, their local fish and chip shop, or, their local restaurants. It would be really cool to see that. And although they may be paying a slightly higher price, I think you're dead right. It needs to come down to the local consumer to be thinking, okay, like, I'm going to be paying a bit more, but I'm going to be stimulating the New Zealand economy. I'm going to be supporting locally. I'm going to be eating better food, So the amount that you might be paying $4 or $5 more for a main or whatever, but you're going to be getting so much more for it, and you're going to be doing a lot of New Zealanders a world of good. Would you agree with that?
Basically, you're going to keep most of the money in New Zealand, helping New Zealanders. Yeah. There's nothing wrong going out and eating at big chains. I mean, who are the people working at these big chains? They are New Zealanders as well. All the people on minimum wages and stuff. I'm happy that at least someone's getting paid. At least they're not sitting at home. But then again, like I said, New Zealanders have to look deep inside them and have to decide who they want to support or what they want to do. And how long are you going to live like this?
Yeah.
You have to think about it. The margins in restaurants are so low, and on top, GST, just kills the businesses, man. Like, and then people think that going at a restaurant, food is expensive, but it's actually not. There's a lot of hard work behind it. There's a lot of thought that goes behind it. Every chef puts part of his soul, into that cooking, and that's quite something. But it's all depending on, how people what do you want to eat, You will be, when you look at yourself in the future, you will have to think, what decisions did you take in the past to put you there, And I think if you want to have a better future and set examples kind of going forward, and even for your kids or the next generation, you have to show them that we support locally, and we, have to go forward, grow your own stuff, try to go fishing, teach your kids fishing, gardening, get them more outdoor, help them to understand what basically New Zealand is, what the produce is. If you're just going to keep feeding them burgers and pizzas and sushi, I have nothing against it. It's comfort food, but you have to go a little bit ahead, and you have to teach everyone what quality is, If are you always going to chase quantity, or are you going to have quality, I've always gone for quality. So that's just what I think, and it's just my opinion at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think you're so right though, mate. We live in such a beautiful country. You look outside, no matter where you are in New Zealand, there's a good view not very far away. So we live in a super beautiful country, and I think that the halt on international travel will make New Zealanders probably appreciate that a little bit more. Because how many times do you come across like a friend who's a Kiwi and they've never gone to the North Island or they've never gone to the South Island, you know? It's like, man, we've got such a beautiful country, but not enough of us probably appreciate that. And coming to the point of locally grown produce, do you think there is going to be a little bit of a paradigm shift to more New Zealanders wanting, valuing, buying more local New Zealand produce because of COVID-19?
Oh, it's definitely happening at this point in the hospitality industry. It's definitely happening, you know. I mean, there were a lot of restaurants who were supporting local, but now there are more people who have joined in as well. So that is a great thing, but there has to be consistency to keep going on with that, you know. And I think others have to learn from that we need to support local. We need to start growing our own food, and we need to start looking forward as well, you know. Like, no matter what, start something small, you know. Like, it doesn't matter, but try, you know. Try, teach yourself, educate your kids, you know. And that's what it's all about, you know. Teach your kids what you never learned. If you're always going to teach them what you knew, then there's no point in it, you know.
Yep.
Try teaching them something that you never learned, you know, and that will be exciting because that way you will educate yourself as well.
For sure, man, for sure. And kind of by extension of that whole kind of locally grown food, and I know that you're extremely passionate about this yourself, Punit, but that growing your own food, being a little bit more self-sustainable, do you think that people will be looking more to grow their own food as a result of this as well?
You know, if you are wise, you would.
Yep.
I would say. If times like this, if you're not doing that, man, then I don't know when you're going to do it. You know, you should start now. You know, I mean, we are as well. We're looking into every prospect of working from, no matter how small things are around us, but we are trying. You know, I was going to move to another place. Like I think I mentioned to you before on a phone call, I was going to move to a farm, but that fell apart as well because I just couldn't afford the rent in the long term because I just don't have a proper job, you know, to keep on. And but like I said, the plan's always there. I've been in touch with a few local growers, suppliers, and I myself, I'm going to push for it, you know, and I'm going to start looking into it of how I can, even if it's herb garden or it's micros, or, you know, even if it's a lemon tree or a lime, just going to start with something small, you know. And I myself, I'm a big fan of foraging as well. Recently just moved here. I don't know much. I don't know many people. But like, you know, my family moved here 3 days before lockdown as well. But every now and then we go out, we go fishing. You know, one of my staff mates is living with me as well. We both go fishing, you know, we go for walks around, we just keep looking, you know, like, and when I walk around, I see like lots of pearsaline, lots of native herbs and stuff, you know, so it's great, you know. The country, you live in a country where it's not only beautiful, but it's organic, you know. It doesn't matter, every part in this country, you put a seed, you can grow something or the other,
yeah.
You know. But why not start with it, you know? Start growing your own food. You know, I'm not saying like go big, you know. You can start something small from your house, you know. Even if you have a window, you can have small herb boxes sitting just at the window, you know. You don't have to invest a lot.
Because I think that's what stops a lot of people, is the thought of growing their own food. They're thinking, this must be tough, this must take a lot of time, a lot of money. And obviously we live in an age where we want things like this, right? And for people to wait for their carrots to grow or something, they just want to go down to the supermarket and buy carrots, you know. So, you know, do you think there's a bit of ignorance and naivety in this regard with the general public on how easy it is to grow your own vegetables? Because I'm like you, mate, I'm extremely passionate about it. Back in North Canterbury, when I used to live in North Canterbury, we had a veggie garden, and it was so great. You know, if you're cooking dinner, you just go out to the veggie garden, you're pulling like fresh potatoes out of the ground, fresh carrots, and you get that kind of sense of pride knowing that you've grown it and it's not sprayed with chemicals and stuff. So you're living cheaper, you're living healthier, You're doing kind of good for the planet. So do you think this is actually a lot more accessible for people than what they realize?
Yes, it is. I mean, look, what's going to go wrong? You know, you're going to grow herbs, and if it's growing out of control, give it to your neighbor.
Yeah.
You know, share it. You know, and it's the same thing. You know, you don't need money, a lot of money or a lot of investment in gardening. You know, you just have to go to a local gardening shop, just buy a good pot mix. You know, and that's all you need. You can use your milk containers, you can use your coconut cream cans and stuff. You just save it and put soil in them. You put herb seeds, and you can grow. You know, it's not that difficult. There's not a massive investment in it. You know, you can start with that. And if you have a small piece of land outside, it doesn't matter how small. And you know, sometimes you forget onions and potatoes. You know, and then they start sprouting.
Yep.
And some people freak out. You know, it looks like an alien.
Yeah.
It's gone up. Now, if your onion is sprouting, you can plant it back into the ground, and you can get more seeds out of it, and you can grow more onions. You know, for example, if a potato is sprouting, the parts that sprout, you can just scoop them out, or you can cut them into pieces with the sprouts still on them, and you can plant them, and in 3 or 4 months you will have potatoes. And if you leave the potatoes in the ground, it will multiply, you know, because they start sprouting. That's how nature works, you know. What's going to happen with, you know, what? You're going to end up with a lot of excess of potatoes and onions, you know. Man, share it, you know. I'll be happy to take some, you know. Like, it's quite, you know, it's quite therapeutic as well, you know. When you grow your own food, you're investing time. It's like a baby, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, try to make your own bread, you know, try to grow your own stuff. And it's amazing when you do it correctly. You're just going to love it, you know. You're just going to love it more, you know, you're going to enjoy it more, you know. But then again, go out to the restaurants as well to dine once in a while, you know, and have a good time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like once you start growing your own produce and stuff, you will appreciate the quality, and you will understand how much work goes behind the scenes as well, you know.
Boom. I think that's key there, man. Yeah.
You know, and it's like I said, you know, like you have to try, man. You have to. This is the best time now we have got that we can invest in ourselves, and we can do different things. You know, we just don't have to stay at home, or, you know, if you never did workout, do a 5-minute workout or a 15-minute workout, but at least start doing something, you know, keep moving, you know. Let's just get out of the house more, you know, take some sunshine, you know, try planting some pot, do something, you know, like be more involved, you know.
Yep.
Try to give as much as you can, even if it's not giving to someone else, at least start giving to yourself, you know. When you start giving more to yourself, you will start giving more to others.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you will understand.
You raised a couple of really good points there, mate. One is if you start growing your own food, you'll suddenly realize and appreciate a lot more how much work goes into, you know, restaurants preparing food, because, you know, potatoes, you can't just create a potato in 3 seconds, you know. It's got to live in the ground, it's got to grow for months. You've got to obviously make sure the plant doesn't get frosted, mound it up, and then see if it's like, okay, cool, potato's good, then you've got to peel it, etc. There's so much work that goes into preparing, you know, quality food. And then with the restaurant, you're also getting the service of it. Like, to be honest, restaurants, if you really break it down, you're exactly right. Restaurants are not overpriced. You're paying for the service, the experience. You're paying for the chef who knows what they're doing in the kitchen. He or she knows what they're doing in the kitchen. And you're paying for all of these... What's that?
You know, you're paying people's wages one way or the other. You're paying everyone's wages, you know, like from farmers to the middleman, to everyone, you know. Yeah,
100%. And it's quite funny, you mentioned as well how veggie gardening can be so therapeutic. I, for one, as an avid veggie gardenist, when I was back down in Christchurch, I loved it. It was fun. And one of my friends up here in Wellington, he'll know who he is when I'm talking about him, but he just started growing vegetables and he's just got a little wee garden, and he planted vegetables. Every time I go around there, it's like he's showing me his baby, you know. He's like showing me his plants and how they're growing and how he's going to be able to start eating the produce for them. And it's a real sense of pride to be growing these vegetables. So I guess let's break it down even further, Punit, so that people can understand how easy it is. I live in an apartment building with a little balcony on the 4th floor. So I've got a little balcony which receives some afternoon sun. What can I do? What does it take for me to grow some food where I live?
So you can always start buying seeds online. You don't need to buy lots of amounts of seeds, you know. But for example, sometimes you have seeds at home, like, you know, mustard seeds or coriander seeds. Not the toasted ones. If you use toasted ones, you're never going to get anything out of it, you know. But yeah, for example, when you even buy live plants, you know, I would say that's the best way to start. Take some basic videos, read books, you know, start with the live plants and take it from there. Look after them, how to keep them alive, how much sunshine you can give them, how much water. You don't need to put a lot of water, you know. Like, it doesn't take too much time, you know. When you are at home, for example, I told you, you might need a few plastic containers. Sometimes you even have takeaway plastic containers, you know.
Yep.
All you have to do is make small holes. You can use needles or even a screwdriver. Put the soil in them and then have a tray underneath it, you know, where if you put water, because the soil needs to drain the water as well to disperse it evenly. Because sometimes when you put too much water, the soil will hold it, and then it will affect the plants in one way or the other, and they might not grow well. You know, what you want is a perfect balance, but nature does that for themselves. You know, you don't have to, it's not that rocket science where you have to, it's not baking where you have to take, oh, I need to put only 50 mils of water this now, you know, and that. So it's not like, you know, start with, I would say, save some cans. You know, I have saved like at least 6 or 7 cans. And then I'm saving the milk containers as well. What I'm going to do is I've already spoken to one of the local growers. So he's going to provide me with soil and seeds. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill them up. We're going to have a tray underneath it. And which will hold all the water if there's excess water. And what it will do is the excess water will start going back into the soil as well, you know, even if you don't water it for a couple of days. But yeah, like it's kind of hard to explain because there are some regulations for people living in units where they can't have plants and they cannot water. Because sometimes the water goes through the soil and you have soil marks, you know, on the walls. So definitely start with, you know, go to shops like Moore Wilson's or, you know, especially if you're in Wellington or anywhere, you know, and buy even New World or any other supermarkets, you know, you find like live plants, you know, buy those live plants. I'm not a big fan of plastic, but you know, but if you're at home, you have to make the best use of what you have. You know, start with live plants first. I would say try to, if they start sprouting, like sometimes you buy coriander, and you will see that they start giving out seeds as well.
Yep.
Save those seeds and try to put them back into the soil, and it might start growing again. You know, so it's a process. You know, it's a circle of life. You know, and if your plants are dying and stuff, keep them in a bag, put water, and leave them aside. And that will be your natural compost for it, you know? So you can put that back into the soil as well. Yeah. If you have like dead leaves, dead branches and stuff, you know, over the time it breaks down and it goes back to the soil, you know? It's the same thing us as human beings as well, you know? When you get buried, you get given back to the nature, you know? So it's kind of, yeah. I'm not a big genius on gardening and stuff because I'm reading myself and starting with basics, but we have started now at this point with live plants, and soon we're going to start working with, like I said, suppliers, and whatever excess we're going to have, we're going to start giving it away for people who need it.
Yep. Yeah. Let's delve into that To kind of round up the podcast, Punit, what's the future look like for you? The next couple of years now, from what I've learned from you, you've got a big heart. You love giving to people. You know, you've gone through a lot over the last few weeks. You've lost your job, and the fact that your family was in the process of moving, and this happened. So you've gone through a lot. But when I've talked to you, you are so optimistic, and you've got such a big heart for giving. So yeah, give us a bit of an idea of what are your plans for the next wee while, man? What's on your plate?
Honestly, at this point, it's quite difficult to say anything because there's a lot of offers coming on the table. There's a lot of things going on. Basically, I'm not really looking to relocate unless and until I really am in a bad position.
Yep.
But you know, I want to work in the community. I want to work in hospitality. As long as I believe I can give and do my best, I would like to give as much as I can for the industry. But like I told you, I would like to work with soup kitchens once a week at least, to give back. That's what I'm looking for, but I've already applied at this time, but it's only possible from level 2. So I'm going to start working with Nourish for Nil soon, hopefully.
Yep.
That's one of the things. Maybe set up a small kitchen and start catering work, because that's the only thing at this point. I'm not really looking for the industry to have much, because they're honestly, let's be honest about this, in a point where the only way to do what I like doing now, or you yourself doing now, is by creating the opportunity for yourself. And like I said, no matter how small, start something small. So, like I said, I'm looking at all options and then work for myself maybe for a year or so, and then, take it from there. In the meanwhile, just keep, if someone wants have good dinner at home as a need a private chef, I'm there.
Yeah.
So do that as well. Yeah. And at this point, I would like to help one of the businesses that are helping me to grow as well. But let's see, it has to go both ways. And it's tough time, anything related to food at this time is quite tough. Yep. To answer, like I would have never thought about this, like honestly, even before the lockdown. I thought people need food. They will definitely go to restaurants. Yep. But now here we are in the situation where everyone is in bare minimum, so it worries me. I'm an optimistic person. I believe you have one life and you got to do the most that you can. I love cooking and no one will ever take that away from me unless and until it's me. And, but I want to help as much as I can, even the staff, that came all over here to work with me and give as much back as I can, And like I said, it doesn't matter how small, but you just have to start, So we'll definitely looking into it. I'm open to options from a lot of people, everything's on the table. Obviously, there will be no investors at this point to go into something. I don't want to have a really big space of my own. Just want to have something small, Yeah. You want to give people the experience, you don't want to create chaos. So it's all about the quality. So, hopefully, I can do something like you, listening to people's stories, putting it out there, letting the world know. So hopefully maybe start a blog of my own and, things like that.
That was beautiful, man. That really was. And, the world has a funny way of, what goes around comes around. If you're paying it forward right now, if you're still helping other people at the moment, I think it's going to come back in volumes, mate. And yeah, if you ever set up your own place or you're working somewhere, let me know. I'll be there wanting to get some food from Punit, because it sounds great, man. Yeah.
Maybe I can come to your place and cater you.
Yeah, mate. I am terrible at cooking. Well, I never put in the time to do it. I really should. But my meals are super basic. Like stir fries are probably like the most I'd ever do in the kitchen. Any last words before we wrap things up, Punit, about the hospitality industry, about your journey, about how people can become more self-sufficient? Anything else you want to add?
Oh, I just want to, just a small message that I would like to say is I really appreciate what the hospitality industry is doing out there, saving so many jobs, whoever is, and quite proud of them. Hopefully I can join back with them pretty soon in one way or the other. And also I would like to recommend everyone that, let's start something small, start growing your own food. Be positive. You don't have something today, but you will definitely have something better tomorrow, So no matter what, and also try giving something back, to others. It doesn't matter how small. So please stay positive. Don't do anything stupid. Support your local businesses, no matter how big or small. At least you're helping someone to pay someone else's wages at difficult times like this. And, just don't be a dick to others, that's it.
Yep, I like it. That's good advice. Good advice, man. Cool. And for anyone that's wanting to find out more about you, Punit, or find out about your journey, your future, where can they find you? Do you have a social media account or something that people can follow your journey?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. It's P D'Souza 66. Maybe I'll be able to show it to you somewhere.
P D'Souza 66. Do you want to spell that out for the people who are listening to this as well, mate?
Yeah, so that's my account there.
Perfect. So P D'Souza 66, and that's on Instagram. Cool. And you post stuff about your cooking and your journey on there?
Yeah, at this point I've been a little bit slow because sometimes you go in dark spaces.
Yeah.
But you still got to keep working. Like I said, there's a lot of things in the pipeline, and I'll slowly start working on it. But before, while working for others, I didn't really have much time for this. Now I'm enjoying my family time, my own time. It was quite weird in the beginning, staying home so much, because I never used to it. But now it's just, I value it more. I understand it more as well. I'm able to give more time to myself and, think more about how I can give back and how I can work in a better way with the industry as well. After all this, there's only one thing that's going to come out of this is something better. And I think everyone has to, be better than what they were yesterday,
Yeah.
If you're not doing this now, it's going to reflect on your future. And there's not much, like the decisions that we take today will show tomorrow. Yeah.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. Yeah. I love your attitude. I think that's something that a lot of people listening and hearing can certainly take a leaf out of your book. So for all of you watching, for more Kaizen Fitness content, for more interviews, podcasts, check us out on our website at www.kaizenfitness.co.nz, or we are also on Instagram and Facebook underneath the handle at Kaizen Fitness NZ. But what a great podcast. Basically, team, it's very easy to grow your own food. It can start as simple as just a few pot plants on your balcony or your windowsill, and also make sure that you are supporting local, particularly in times like these, because it is going to pay forward into the future. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Signing out.
Thank you so much for listening. Now, it's time for you to take action.